All right, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you for watching, for listening. I appreciate y'all very much. Also appreciate today's sponsor, Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, just minutes away from Highmark Stadium. On the podcast side, this is our staple, I guess, at this point, Monday show. Video side, we are actually live here recording on a Sunday night as usual. I'm joined by Joe from Queens. What's going on, man? How you doing? What's up?
I'm living the dream, man. I'm just about to retweet our thing, I guess, because I forgot to.
I sent you the link 3 minutes before we were.
Yeah, because you're just a horrible human, and you never have your stuff together, but you yell at me when I have my stuff together because you're like, you need to do it faster and all this nonsense.
We're going to get to plenty of stuff today. Joe and I are going to spend some time talking about Terry Pegula as the bear cracks. We'll get to the bear in a second. We're going to talk about Terry Pegula as the owner of the Buffalo Bills. Doesn't get enough credit for the sustainability of the Buffalo Bills right now. It's easy to smear him because of the Sabres. We're going to try to separate that a little bit. Brandon Beane gets a lot of credit for these extensions, for a lot of other things. You barely ever hear Pegula getting any love from Bills fans. So I want to talk about that with Joe today. We're going to talk about what we both, I'm sure, we're going to end up thinking that topping ceremony with government elected officials, Pegula, Goodell, was pretty stupid. Some other things. Wayne Gretzky's record gets broken by Ovechkin. Joe came up with a really good idea.
Communist Gretzky. Yep.
We're going to run through some records, Buffalo sports records that we feel are safe from being broken. Gretzky's, I'm sure, felt like that for a long time as well. Speaking of the Sabres, we will talk about them a little bit. They won just before they won the year. They are red hot. They've won 7 of 8, man, and they've won 12 of their last 2 at home. Doesn't mean anything. We'll talk about that. Got a couple segments coming up on the show as well. Thank you, everybody on the video side who's starting to pile in here. All right, what do you got going with the bear? That's our weekly thing here.
Well, first off, in the comic section, Big Papa Bill, I am not hungover. This is what 45 and a 21-year-old looks like in the house. You're tired and you get naps in every time you can, and anyways, yeah, it's actually my last Christmas beer. It's Big Lou from Hamburg Brewery, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
Ty Dunn used to always advertise them back when Hamburger, I think, was a part of their show. But yeah, that's what we get. It's a good, sweet IPA. It is a big-ass percentage of 9% alcohol. So,
damn. 9%.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like 9%, though. You probably wouldn't mind it as much.
No, I probably wouldn't. I mean, it's a far cry from these Mick Ultras I've been drinking the last couple weeks because I'm trying to stay committed to being on a diet. So if I'm going to drink, that's what I'm going to do. 2 quick things, then we're going to jump into today's show. Saturday night, I got to give some major props, man. Kate Glaser, the Hope Rises Foundation, they put on an 80s bash at Slowlat in where is it? In Williamsville. I went there with a handful of buddies on Saturday. Time of my life. I'm an 80s kid. You know what I mean? I grew up in the 80s. I'm old. I'm all right with that. I've made peace with it. But celebrating the 80s is always fun to me, dude. You know, the music, the outfits, the vibes. It's just a feel-good vibes. It's one of the few places where I could go to an event, to a bar, and not feel like I'm one of the oldest people in the place. There are a lot of people my age and a lot older out there. What was the name of the band? Nerds Gone Wild. Really cool 80s band, man. Only my second time hearing them. They were great, but it was really cool, man. And like I said, they raise a lot of money. It's for charity. Kate and her staff does some amazing things. Joe Andreessen was there. Kelsey Anderson from Channel 4 was there. A lot of people, man. Great turnout. I forgot to get a picture. I'll put it up on the screen for next week. I kind of had like this rad 80s look costume going, a wig, full size, long feathered, borderline mullet hair, but it was a lot of fun. So I did have a little bit of a hangover this morning, but well worth it, man. I love the 80s. So that shit was really cool. So major props to them. I got some video clips and stuff like that. I'm going to kind of cut something up and do a little thing on my socials this week, kind of showing some highlights from that party. That, and also quick congratulations to the UB women's college basketball team. They won the WNIT. They beat Troy 88-84. Like 5,600 people were in the crowd in Buffalo on Saturday. Really good crowd. So anytime anyone in Buffalo wins anything kind of championship, that's really cool, man. Bandits clinch a playoff spot. Good week for Sabres are red hot. It's a good week for Buffalo sports and events, Joe. Everything good in Buffalo except the weather. That still kind of blows.
Yeah, the weather's not great over here either in New York City. But yeah, I've heard you guys it's just a dumpster fire where you guys are. I hear it from my mom every day, basically.
Yeah, well, it's been cold. And on the days that it's not cold, it makes up for it by being windy or rain or both to kind of make up for it. All right, let's jump in. And we got a bunch of things I want to get to today. Let's start with what was on the cover here. Terry Pegula. I wonder about this. I'd love insight from you. If anyone is watching this on the video side live, leave some comments. We'll circle back to some of those as well. Terry Pegula. The Buffalo Bills have been in the playoffs every season since 2017, with the exception of one. And year after year, extensions, big contracts like Von Miller or Stephon Diggs. There's been plenty of big contracts throughout this era of Buffalo Bills football. And this is nothing against Brandon Beane because he deserves a lot of credit. But pretty much every time, like this offseason, the Josh Allen contract, giving him the most guaranteed money in the history of the NFL at the time of his signing. Every time there's an extension, it's always be big baller Beane, Beane after dark, whatever you want to call him in the sunglasses, all that shit, man, which is deserved. But it's not just him. I feel like Terry Pegula doesn't get enough credit for the job he's done as Bills owner. Obviously, a big reason, as I turn this over to you, is the Sabres have been a fucking tire fire, and they don't spend to the cap. There's lots of things that we can talk about on the Sabres side. Is it possible to kind of differentiate the owners, like kind of separate Pegula from the Bills, Pegula from the Sabres, or do you forced to kind of lock it into one? There's a lot of Bills fans out there that are also Sabres fans, and there's some people who don't give a shit about the Sabres, and they're only Bills fans. What's your take on Terry Pegula? Do you think he gets the credit from Bills Mafia that he deserves, or just sports fans in general?
I don't know that's a tough question in terms of like fan reaction to him. We're in 2025, and I feel like I'm going to get a little bit, I don't want to say political because you'll freak out, but I will a little bit. But like, billionaires are not viewed very nicely these days. And I think it's a little bit different than it was maybe 20 years ago with ownerships. And I just think there's a little bit of that, well, you're a billionaire, like just write the checks, who cares? And maybe that's why he's not getting enough credit. There's also let's look at it this way. This is how I would say this. Do I think he deserves probably a little bit more credit? Sure. Mm-hmm. But let's look at what he has done that's been bad for the Bills. Let's just try to, like, we get the Sabres. Let's try to separate it from.
Do it.
Okay, so from off the top of my head, he took over in 2014. Mm-hmm. He brought in Rex Ryan. That was a disaster. He learned from that. He killed off everyone from the Russ Brandon, Doug Whaley, Ralph Wilson years. Like, he tried to keep those two guys there for 2 years. It didn't work, and he killed everyone off. Brought in McDermott. It's been great. The stadium has been a bitter taste, I think, in my mouth a little bit with the PSLs. It didn't seem like to me he really cared what the community wanted. It felt like he wanted to build the cheapest stadium he could, and the city was the county and the state were going to agree to it, and he just didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave Orchard Park because it's cheap there. He didn't want to put a roof on because it's cheaper. And he's been and I think this is a big part of the problem, he has not talked at all in public and interview settings outside of these little press conferences where he cracks a joke and everyone laughs like it's hilarious. But him not talking and even just taking his like laps around, I think has kind of been probably hurt his popularity a little bit. Because I think it's that. I think the stadium and what the him not talking, I think, has probably affected it because he's kind of just in the shadows. You don't see him all that much with the Bills. Like, I have no idea what his say is anything. Whereas there's rumors about him being involved with the Sabres constantly and picking players, and the Bills, it may not be the same. So I think that's what I can lay out in terms of like issues I've seen with the Bills in terms of the stadium. Like, it's a big ass taxpayer chunk that they're paying. I know they are. Pegula is too. He sold part of the team to Vince Carter and freaking Tracy McGrady and whoever, and then he's borrowing money from the league and these PSLs. Like, that I wouldn't be thrilled with that, as a fan. Like, I'm not. I mean, but obviously I'm not in that arena as much because I don't have season tickets and whatever, but I just don't think, I think billionaires should pay for their own stadiums. That's kind of my feel, but I feel like that's being the only thing. But yeah, I mean, look, last thing about this, and I'll throw it to you. You compare him. We were old enough to remember. I mean, it's crazy. Ralph it's been gone for 11 years.
Yeah,
man. Like, and you and I, man, I wish we had Talking Buffalo during the Ralph Wilson era, because I would have been going to town on him every day. And the drought, being cheap, being frugal, fighting with Bill Polian and fighting with this person and that person and all that crap. Like, you saw how it wasn't just losing that just was pissing all of us off. It was just that he was frugal, and he was frugal.
He really was too. I mean, that's not perception. That was reality.
Yeah. I mean, he hoarded games off to freaking Toronto. He also, kind of didn't assure the Bills were going to stay in Buffalo after he died. And everyone tried to ask him, and he would be like, I don't know. And then, like, it was pretty crappy. And then, credit to Terry. Look, the biggest reason the Bills are staying put here, I don't buy him saving the Sabres at all, but I will buy him saving the Bills. So I don't know if he should get more credit than he does, but I think it's kind of like he's there. I don't think, I'm not the mayor of Buffalo, so I'm not shaking hands with everyone. I feel like it's just kind of like, thanks. But no one's like kissing his ass as much with the Bills, maybe as much as probably he should, because of the Sabres. In fact, I think number one, the Sabres has bled into that. And there's a little bit of, as you said, you're fans of both teams. And
you almost got to try to kind of pretend that Terry Pegula has got a twin brother that owns the Sabres, because it feels like, or does it?
Or he's severanced. Maybe there's two Terry that he's severance, where he's got one head in the Bills and one with the Sabres.
One's the innie, one's the outie.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, quick little 10-second detour here, though. Joe convinced me to watch Severance. There's been 2 seasons. My wife and I literally binged all 19 episodes in less than 2 weeks. I just finished it today. We're going to, at some point, we're going to start doing these with shows that we've both commonly watched, whether it's Joe or I have another guest who watch a different show. If I've watched it, we're going to start having some YouTube exclusives where we do reviews and just talk about these shows. That was an intriguing show. I don't want to lose the train where we're at right now. But back to Terry Pegula here. With the Sabres, I mean, look, you put out a tweet. It's Terry Pegula's birthday, for an example. The Bills will put out a tweet. The Sabres will put out a tweet.
Yeah.
I go through the mentions. It's night and day. It is literally different. And the ones that are critical of Pegula's birthday in the Bills section are people saying something about the Sabres almost entirely. It's hard to separate them, though, because he has been a train wreck of an owner for the Buffalo Sabres. He really has. You could say it, and I agree with you. He saved the Sabres possibly from moving. You can make
the Bills. That's
what I meant. I meant he saved the Bills from moving. He didn't save the Sabres from moving, but the expectation was that no expense was going to be spared when it came to Terry Pegula as the owner. I mean, he said that shit pretty much himself when he first took over this team. But you look at them right now, and things like, and we'll talk about the team a little bit later on, but in terms of ownership, the making Lindy Ruff's not have his own choice of assistants when he got hired this year, keeping those guys to save money. They are near the bottom of the league in spending, like the last 4 or 5 years. They don't spend even close to the salary cap. I mean, they got a ton of cap space. The hockey Terry Pegula has just been a disaster. And you've said this before on the show. You think he's more of a Sabres fan than a Bills fan. You said that, right?
I mean, I've said that I've heard that through the grapevine, but who knows? Like,
Right.
that's the thing when he doesn't talk. I mean, it's a double-edged sword because when he did talk, which wasn't that often, you were like, oh God,
he's not a public speaker. That's the thing.
You know what?
I understand that not like Mike Harrington loses his shit over it all the time. These guys, they're mad that Pegula won't talk. Well, what's he gonna say? I mean,
look,
he's not a good speaker. It's not what he does.
Yeah, but like owners are used to that. That they all have talked. You know, they had the owners meeting a week or two ago, and a lot of the owners talked. He doesn't. He hasn't talked about the Bills. He hasn't talked about the Bills in like with a press conference or with reporters since 2019, dude. There's been a lot of shit that has happened. If he had talked during that time frame and maybe took questions, maybe he would, people would perceive him to be better or give him more credit as Bills fans. But at the same time, when he did talk, he did not sound very smart. And I don't want to hear he's not a public speaker. I'm not a public speaker either. You're not either. But I sound fucking fine when I talk about the Bills.
I'm a great speaker in public.
Yeah, okay, sure. But either way, like he doesn't really talk too well when it comes to talking about sports.
I agree. It's a weakness. So he just
doesn't seem like he doesn't know all that much. He's kind of and then the other thing too, and in terms of popularity with him, let's go back to 2020 when COVID happened, and like Tim Grant had that manifesto of how he was killing off everyone at PSE and the Sabres, and bartenders were losing their job at the 716 bar, and the super yacht thing. I think that is probably been that like really kind of took a big hit for him.
I agree.
Like when it was kind of like, I forgot what was the wording they used. It was like life. I forgot what the fucking phrase was.
I don't.
But it was something like quality of life. Like they had to have their quality of life by saving money, even though they were billionaires. And I think that really rubbed people. I thought that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It did me as well. But
let me get to a point though, because I want to be careful here. I actually agree with almost every single thing that you've said about Pegula and the popularity, but this isn't really a discussion, and I don't want it to be, I should say, a discussion so much about his popularity. I'm just talking about him not getting credit on the bill.
If you're not popular, you're not going to get credit, dude. That's just how it works.
I guess.
It is. It is. Like, I mean, like you're right, but I think it's just like he's those other factors. And like, I've tried to think of like, look, there are owners who have owned teams, multiple teams. The only owner I could think of where like their team sucked and the other team was like really good was the Dolans. Like the Knicks were awful under him from like 2001 to 2017, give or take. And then the Rangers were respectable. Like they were good. They made it to a cup final once. But like, being here in New York, like no one cared, or they thought of Dolan as a buffoon because the Knicks are more popular and like he was just out of his mind. Whereas the Rangers, he just didn't care. He was just like, write a check, let my people do it. He couldn't help himself. And there's not many owners that I could think of. Like there's Reinsdorf, he owned the Bulls, and he owned the White Sox, and the White Sox were like one World Series, and Reinsdorf walked into Jordan, and the Bulls have been shitty since Jordan left. And he still owns that team. So, it's kind of like there aren't that many other instances of that. But he does. Look, he does. The bottom line is this. Does he deserve more credit? Sure. But what do I need to like? What does he need? Like, do we need another Pegula day? Do we not need to yell at him when they respond to his thing?
I'm just saying that I feel like he doesn't get the credit that he deserves because it's always Brandon being this, Brandon being that on the football side. By the way, got some really good comments on this topic that going on in the live chat. I'm going to feature some of those in just a few minutes. I think of it this way. You mentioned Ralph Wilson. This is what I'm talking about with the Buffalo Bills right now, where he does deserve a good amount of credit. Is you take a guy like Josh Allen, okay? Look what Dallas is, Dallas and Jerry Jones. That prospect took forever to get paid. You end up paying more too, but it's never been an issue. Josh Allen getting a big contract a handful of years ago was never an issue. Josh Allen getting an extension now, and they didn't really need to do it right now and giving him the highest guarantee ever. That doesn't happen with a cheap owner, with an owner who's not committed. A couple years ago, it didn't end up working out because of the ACL, in part anyway, with Von Miller, but they took that big swing, and Terry Pegula has a lot to do with that, obviously. He's got to sign off on that. They make a big swing of a trade and then give Diggs a huge contract. These extensions, they're locking all these guys up right now. I'm just saying, I feel like every time we see something good, as Brandon Beane strikes again, this and that, it's like, I feel like Terry Pegula just deserves more credit. I don't know how much it ties into popularity. Maybe your statement, what you said, is right, and maybe I didn't think of it that
I
way.
I think there's also like what credit do you deserve? Like, you just have a really deep wallet. All of these
owners out there, I know, but there's lots of rich owners out there, and they don't look at the Carolina Panthers. There's lots of rich, the Bengals. They took them 3 years to pay their best players. There's a lot of owners out there that don't operate this way.
There's also, I think the one key thing is that there is a perception that he lucked into Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, and he lucked into Josh Allen. Because when he did talk, I did not sit there and go, oh man, this guy knows a lot about anything. I mean, there's a list of stupid things he said in public. And I think that could be some of the things, like, he doesn't get credit because he lucked into it. I mean, I think maybe in a crazy way, like, if Brandon Beane and McDermott ever leave, then you can really see how good of, like, okay, if he finds another coach, GM that's works together and they get a high win percentage, maybe he'll get more credit for that. But I think just because he doesn't, when he did talk, and I also think this is my perspective, is that what Terry looks for in, like, a coach is not what I would look into a coach. Like, Terry feels like he is like, I need to have good vibes. I need to have, like, culture. I need to have blue collar, and I will even say it, I think he likes religious virtues. All things I do not want in anyone in who gets hired. Like, I want flash, I want all that shit. And maybe there are fans who like that, maybe they don't. And maybe that's part of it, like, like you just kind of lucked in there. But again, I do think a little bit is like, we're in 2025 is not a year for public perception to like billionaires. Okay,
sure.
They don't. No, who likes Elon Musk? No one does right now, and he's the richest man in the freaking galaxy. Billionaires aren't like. There is a big difference between billionaires now, the perception, than it was 10, 15 years ago.
Agreed, but at the end of the day, the owner is signing the checks, and I just feel like when they're giving out contracts or making good decisions, hiring the right coach, hiring the right GM, that they deserve the credit. Now, in terms of the coach, there's people out there, there's a theory that he got lucky. He hired Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott kind of more or less got Brandon Beane in the door, and he hasn't had to do a whole hell of a lot because of that. He got the quarterback. Brandon Beane went up and made multiple trades, ends up with Josh Allen, which, again, there's an element of luck in that because the Jets took Darnold. The Browns took Mayfield. One of them could have taken easily Josh Allen. Denver, we've been talking about that for years now. Just saying, there is always an element of luck when it comes to getting the right coach or the right GM or the right quarterback in your organization. I'm just saying, on the football side, he's not afraid to write a big check. He's not afraid to swing for a big move. On the hockey side, it feels like they've been trying things for years, but thing after thing after thing fails. And it's indisputable that his spending and financial commitment to the Sabres is not what it is with the Bills. You could just look at the salary cap. You could look at Lindy Ruff's assistants that weren't his assistants, all kinds of things. Let me get to a handful of comments here because these are really good. And I want to kind of stay on topic before we get to the other stuff here. Let me make sure if I got everything. Oh, first of all, shout out my Nicholas. Greetings again from Sydney, Australia. I love that, man. Quick shout out to say thanks for the pods as I've been listening and catching up when I can. Appreciate that very much, Nick. All right. So Jason says, considering the market we are in, we should be the Bengals right now. Pop facilities, no new stadium in the works, cheap owners who won't go cash over cap, etc. Let me get a couple more in here. Ralph Wilson Sr., who did not like us talking about Ralph Wilson. Real Ralph Wilson.
Sorry, Sr. Ralph.
The two cookie jars Pegula keeping hands out are successful. Bills and Bandits fans like him. His hand is in the rat trap of the Sabres is a stain. Tony says, what's up, guys? Pegula is great with the football team, not so much for the Sabres. Pegula is doing good, not great, but good. Steve Noble, I feel that once you suck as an NHL team, it's a lot harder to turn around than the NFL. Pegula is less of a problem than the rules in the NHL. Drafting teenagers causes or kills the NHL. All right, all fair points there. I don't think anyone radically disagrees or agrees, or disagrees, I should say, with anything we're saying. To kind of put a bow on this topic, I don't know. It's just something I brought up because it just seems to bother me that it's always Brandon being this, Brandon being that, and I just.
Why does it bother you? What, you want to pander to Terry Pegula? Like, what?
It makes Brandon Bean sound like the greatest. Well, I'm not pandering to Terry Pegula. I
don't think you are. Like,
I think he's a pretty good football owner. I
don't want to give credit to anyone. No one deserves credit till you win a Super Bowl.
You say that he's not a good football owner for the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what anyone could possibly say. If the best thing you could say against him that he's not a good owner is that he doesn't talk to the media. 99%.
Well, like I said, I think there's more to it. It's not. It's like he's an owner. Like I said, I'm sorry, but I think the stadium of like having the public pay and like the PSLs, I think that kind of looks not great. And I do think no one likes billionaires this day and age, buddy. And that's just how that's my feeling.
Right, I get that. I could give somebody credit, but I gotta like them. I give you. I
just told you. I've been
credit for bringing some heat to the show, some flavor to the show. It's probably the best show of the week. Is our Monday.
You know what? Here's the thing.
On everything. I don't like the shit you do or say.
Look. I don't know. Why don't you do something tomorrow? Why don't you tweet out an experiment? Tweet out, I got to give mad props to Terry Pegula for these extensions. This is great. I wish we never had an owner like this for the Bills. Let's see what happens. Let's see if people retweet it, like it, or whatever the fuck. Because it's just like, I don't know what you want credit. Like, do you want me to write a 700-page article and go, my God, Terry, and worship his ass?
Just say, good job, Terry.
I just said good job. Like, yeah, good job. Thank you for signing the checks.
A lot of people never say that. That's my
point. Because no one cares. He's an owner.
Is he underrated as an owner compared to his peers around the league? I think he is.
Well, you have to bring out, like, what do you want as an owner? Like, I've always wanted an owner who spends a ton of money, and he does that.
He does.
Do I want him to talk? It depends. Like when there's crazy things happening, like him firing people or like I want to know why we need PSLs. Why do we need all this shit? And you're firing all these people and you don't talk, or your wife, who was the president of the team, mysteriously disappears, and we find out she gets sick like a year later. Like, yeah, you kind of maybe like let us know what the hell's going on. Like, yeah, that's a little bit of that. But in terms of like in comparison to other owners, yeah, I mean, he's probably fine, but like it is about the players. Like, give you an example, the Chiefs owners are kind of like they got like an F- through like the players' perspective of like how they've kept the facilities up and things like that. Like he got the locker room hasn't been updated, and look, they're on 3 freaking Super Bowls or whatever, and. Sometimes it's just
but Woody Johnson's a joke. And look at the fucking Jets.
You're right. I mean, you have mental like I don't want that at all, obviously, and like I don't want a hands-on owner. I just want them to be like, here's a check, go be Josh Allen's buddy, go golf, enjoy it. So, he does deserve credit for it, but he's a billionaire. They get enough credit. We don't.
That's a fair view to have. It really is kind of turning this into a popularity versus credit thing. I understand what you're saying. My thing is, I just feel like he should be included when, the Bills are making big moves and doing good things. The owner has a lot to do with that. And personally, what I don't agree with you with is the whole speaking thing. I mean, I got Brandon Bean for that. I'd rather hear from Brandon.
Well, no, I'm talking on the business side.
Business side.
I don't need him to talk about why they failed. I don't
I don't need Jerry Jones.
I'm producing this. Bring up this Jason M guy because he's talking shit to me a little bit. Like he says, Joe, I don't need to know about his stroke, the wife's stroke. Here, bring that up so you can read it.
I don't.
It's all the way at the bottom, dude.
Well, I got a lot of things going on here.
I'll read the damn thing, okay? All right, Joe, no, I do not need to know the details of his wife's stroke just because I'm a Bills fan. That's a low one. I'm not saying you need to have, like, an entire, like, she's the president. She's, at that point, was in charge of talking about the stadium. all that stuff. Like, I don't need like cameras in her hospital bed, but like a little bit of like, who's taking over? Who's the president now? That's all I needed a little bit. And no one did any digging.
I know. I get it.
Well, that's what he said, Jason.
I feel like this has turned into like two different conversations. One on the football side,
I'm interacting with our audience.
That's fair. I'm just saying, it feels like it's turned into two things here. One on the football side and one that's all business and it's got nothing really to do with the football. My thing is, I just think he should get more respect on the football side for being, I think, a good.
Go tweet that tomorrow. Let's see how many people love it.
I do it tomorrow. I absolutely
put your best pandering cat.
I will put it on Twitter X, and knowing the cesspool that Twitter X is, it's going to turn into some kind of fucking political fight because it always does.
Well,
that's
why I'm not
exactly what's going to end up happening. But I'll do it anyway, just to prove the point. Before we take a break, real quick here, kind of staying with this theme a little bit. We're disagreeing about all this Pegula ownership, but I think we agree on this. Last Friday, they had the topping ceremony. That shit was dumb, man. I don't need to see Pegula, Goodell, Kathy Hochul. Come on. Mark Polencar's all out there taking victory laps because the last piece of steel. To your point, the last piece of steel up. Let's get a press conference and a victory party here. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? But I know why. It's just what politicians and owners in the league, what they like to do. And I thought it was really, really stupid. And to your point, what you were talking about earlier, it is a little bit of an insult, too, taking these victory laps when the public ends up paying a nice chunk for this stadium. And you got politicians and the commissioner out there basically taking victory laps. I hate that shit.
A final beam ceremony. I have never heard of a final beam. It's usually, look, you do two ceremonies. You do we dig the golden shovel and we shovel the dirt and we like blah, blah, blah. And then we do the ribbon cutting. Like, the stadium is open. Let's go inside. You don't do a fucking final beam. Who does that?
That's too much.
That's too much. A final beam?
Breaking ground on the stadium. I can roll with that.
And your girl, Kathy Hochul, with the Bills jacket. I know you wanted to get your wife.
Breaking ground is worthy of a celebration for sure. Finishing the stadium is worthy of a celebration for sure. Having a ceremony on a Friday afternoon, again, literally, so just
tax-paying money going.
Some people can take victory laps, which, by the way, you like to throw in your occasional political dig. I'm going to throw one in my own. Got a Bills jacket on. That thing, I guarantee you, is stiff as a rock. She'll take it off, put it in the closet. Next time she'll wear that shit is when her next photo op comes, because she ain't no Bills fan, gives a shit about the Bills. Next time she wears that jacket, it's going to be because she knows people are taking pictures of her for some kind of photo op. Put your heavy, dried up, hard as a rock jacket back in your closet. Bring it back out next time the cameras come.
That's just trying. Look, I'm going to say that I cannot think of a politician in all of my years, because they try to do that with I love this team, or I love that team.
Hate it.
But it's so dumb. Like, no, you don't. Like Obama, I would say, he knew. Obama kind of knew basketball. Like, I'll give him credit. He did.
He knew basketball. He's
okay. All right, well, relax, dude. It's like 10 years ago. Okay, fine. Like, yeah, he knew basketball. Sure. Like, that I can like buy, but like, yeah, like Donald Trump's not watching any freaking. He's on Twitter, X, or Truth, or whatever.
I would take a quick break. Enough politics, enough ownership talk. Come back. Yeah. Got a lot of stuff that I still want to get to, so we'll be right back. All right, Joe from Queens. Yeah, I think we were long overdue for what we'll call an animated or spirited discussion on something, any topic, let alone.
And I appreciate Jason in the comments. He was very kind of nice in the comments just now. I didn't mean to call you out, Jason. I just wanted to declare like about the thing we were talking about.
Fair, man. Yo, the comments were popping, by the way. So appreciate everyone who is watching this live, or of course listening to this sometime on Monday. And if you watch the video on Monday, you could also leave a comment. I usually take some of those, and
I don't look at the comments.
So yeah, I know you don't. You should be happy you don't look at some of the comments. Speaking of comments, I got one from a guy named Tim Stevens who watches the show regularly, and this has to do with. This was in response to James Cook, okay, and the never-ending James Cook drama that seems to be building up. Last week, the latest was your boy put his house up for sale in Orchard Park. He listed his house. I say your boy. He's my boy. I love you. I ain't got to explain how I feel about James Cook. You already
That's
know.
your boy.
He is my boy. All right, so I'll say my boy, James Cook. Anyway, let me read this comment to you and tell me, I want your opinion on this because we don't discuss this enough. This is probably the most underrated aspect of this entire football team and that we don't discuss. But anyway, his comment said this: the real weapon is the offensive line. Cook is just the ammo it shoots out. What do you think of that comment? You agree with that comment? How much of the success that James Cook had the last 2 years, maybe more specifically this past year, or just any Bills running back in the last couple of years, because this offensive line's been really, really good. And Tim's suggestion is, I think I'm speaking for him when he says, it don't really matter who's back there. The offensive line just opening up holes. And he said, Cook is just the ammo that it's shooting out. What do you think when you hear something like that?
That's kind of fair, but kind of that offensive line has been together for a while. Like Connor McGovern, excuse me, is the only him and your boy Mills are the only new guys that have come since the Dorsey and the Dable era. Because Spencer Brown was there in 2021. He started from day one. You had Dawkins. Mitch Morris, I think, was very good.
Yeah, Osiris Torrance.
Yeah, Torrance. Oh yeah, he's the other one. Like he was kind of newish.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've had 3 guys that were kind of regulars, and like then they kind of switched them out. Is the line giving up? I think it's more about the commitment. I still think the reason why they were running the ball better than they have in the past is just commitment. I think Dorsey and Dable lived by the pass, died by the pass, and that's kind of. And then here comes Brady. We all know that McDermott wants to have more balance because he wants to save his defense and he wants to like make the game go by quicker. I feel that's what it is. So, I mean, look, does the line get credit? I mean, you have to think about how does the running game look when Cook's not out there. Ty Johnson has looked pretty good as a third down back. Greg Davis had that one great game against the Jets.
We all got these names that we always say wrong.
What did I say?
Ray Davis. I know you.
Ray Davis. My bad. I'm shitty. I'm a shitty.
I do it all the time, dude. Trust me. I go back to some episodes. I'm like, God.
Who's Greg Davis? Isn't there a Greg Davis? I don't know. I don't know.
Greg Bell?
No. But okay, so Ray, he's been fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you could maybe state that. I'll just say this about James Cook. We have entered my favorite analogy of all time in talking Buffalo history. We are entering the Marge Simpson dress with him. Like how many times this week did you talk about James Cook on your podcast the past week? Every day you had to have talked about him.
I'm sure I did. Matt, I know Matt Moran and I did. I know I did it on Pod Bags episode Friday, 2 to 3 times a week, minimum 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, we're just definitely at the, like, he's like what Stephon Diggs was 2 years ago in that offseason when we're trying to read every tweet and everything.
Yeah, but Joe, I mean, you're right. 100% right. But do you think that him putting listing his house and that going up publicly, do you think that's notable? Do you think?
Oh, no, definitely.
Let me pull up a comment. I got to find where it was. Jason it was a good comment. I got to find it.
With the housing market, what it is. Yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, he said with the housing market, what it is, putting his house up for sale could be a move for now or next year. Can't even tell. That's how bad the housing market is. All right, fair enough. I kind of feel like it's kind of a message, though. Kind of falls in line with the.
Well, look, I'll say this real quick. I did do, like, if you do a Google search of like NFL player puts his house on the market, there are guys like Tyreek Hill put his house on the market in Miami a year and a half ago. He didn't get traded.
Sure.
Alvin Kamara put his house on the market a year and a half ago. Has not left. Is still there. It could be like just, hey, this is just in case, and like that's it. But yeah, I do think there are guys who have put their houses on the market before they hit free agency or trade, and then they leave. It does happen. So it's kind of, but like you could do your own research on that and see. Because I did. I looked into and I saw like players who are like, ooh, like Tom Brady. I remember he was the biggest one because I think in 2019 he put his house on the market before the last New England season, and he was gone. And he even said that, like, I knew I was gone before. So
I feel at this point, I don't think James Cook's going anywhere this year. A lot of people are asking in the comments and have just been for days. We're talking about it on social media. It's just a daily conversation. Is he going to get traded? I do think there's a chance. I'm not going to say there's no chance. I felt there was no chance, but now I feel like there's at least a chance, but I don't think he's going to get traded. I do think his time in Buffalo is limited. I don't think he's going to see another contract. Absolute best case scenario, if you're a Bills fan who wants Cook, maybe they tag him next year. That's it, though. I don't see him signing an extension. But back to the point of the offensive line, being basically the suggestion that it's the offensive line that is the biggest reason why Cook does what he does. I'll give you an example. If that's your take, you're feeling that it's more the offensive line than the running back, you could go to the Jets game when Ray Davis started because James Cook was hurt. Ray Davis in that game rushed for almost 100 yards and had 154 total yards from scrimmage in that game. Ray Davis was awesome on Monday Night Football in New York or New Jersey against the Jets. So if that's your philosophy, you could take it and run with that. What I would say is that James Cook, the offensive line has a lot to do with it, but James Cook also has the vision and then the speed to take a hole and make it into a 50-yard touchdown. That's what James Cook has done really well. And he got a hell of a lot better at being physical near the end zone, evidenced by him tying O.J. Simpson's franchise record for that. To your point, though, there's not really much more to say about that. Sure, the offensive line deserves a lot of credit, but I think the running back does as well. I want to get to this because this will be fun here. So switching to hockey, but kind of tying it into Buffalo sports. Ovechkin, over the last couple of days, breaks Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record. He's at 895. Now, I never thought in a million years that would ever get broken. I'm going to ask you, what Bills or Sabres records do you feel are the safest, like that are never going to get broken? I mean, you're going to run down a few. I got a couple as well. We'll get to that in a second. But real quick, just on the hockey thing here, two things. Between the Four Nations face-off and this Ovi chase of Gretzky, the all eyes on hockey, it's been a great year for hockey. Just a really good year for hockey. I think those are two very good things for the sport. And then also, making myself old here, but talking about Gretzky, it reminds me of being a kid because I do sort of remember this. 11 years old, Gretzky he's playing at the Odd against the Sabres in 1982. He scored his 77th goal to break Esposito's, at that time, all-time record for single goals in a season. I'm bringing this up because Ovi scored on the road, but the crowd went nuts like it was a home game. I remember the Odd going nuts for Gretzky when he scored that 77th goal against the Sabres. In fact, he had a hat trick that game. Gilbert Perreault also had a hat trick that game. I remember that. I remember Burt Reynolds and Goldie Hawn were in attendance.
Yeah, there's a photo of them on.
Yeah, they were filming a movie in Buffalo. I don't remember what the movie is off the top of my head. But anyway, that was really cool. And just for young fans, a great reminder of how great Wayne Gretzky truly was, because he's got 1,200 more assists than Ovechkin. They got the same amount of goals, though Ovechkin's got one more now. He'd have to play like a decade and average 100 points a season to catch Gretzky. That's just how great Gretzky is. But anyway, back to the point. I'm having a little bit of fun here. What is a few of your Bills or Sabres records that you feel are most safe, just like we always thought Gretzky's goal record would be safe forever?
For Sabres, I think there's two of them. Mm-hmm. One is 76 goals, which is what Alexander McGill needed. That was like the team record. That's not getting broken. Wow. It's just amazing to me that actually happened, and that guy's not even in the Hall of Fame for whatever reason you want to come up with. But that's a record that's not going to get broken. I cannot see a Sabre player getting 76 goals. I think that might have been like the most someone has ever done before. The other Sabres one is they have the longest playoff drought in NHL history. I don't think that's getting.
Oh yeah, NHL. My bad.
NHL history. It's not getting. I don't think that's getting broken anytime soon. So congrats.
We might not live, even if it does pretty soon, Joe. We're going to be fucking senior citizens and old as hell.
Yeah. So that's like, congrats on that record. I think what everyone knows about across the country is that the 4 Super Bowls in a row, which no one has done since the merger, has gone the 4 straight. And we'll see what happens next year because the Chiefs have an opportunity to tie that.
Can happen next year. Literally.
Yeah, that can happen next year. And the last time was close. Like New England made it 3 years in a row. They couldn't do the 4th. That was Brady's last year. But I think that's a big one. And I don't know if you count the Bruce Smith because obviously he's the all-time leader in sacks with 200. obviously he did a lot of those in Buffalo. I think maybe like 25 came in Washington. But I don't see that record ever getting broken anytime soon. And then the other, I don't know how you could, OJ, I feel, had the most famous record with that 2,000 yards he owned for 13, 14 years. Like 2,000 was like the benchmark forever. And then obviously it got broken, but that was a 14-game schedule. Now you can get the 2,000 with it got broken by Dickerson with 16 games. Mm-hmm. So obviously it's kind of, he set the precedent in that regard to that. But I think the Super Bowl ones, and then the last one that came off, I just remembered it now. Biggest comeback playoff game ever. We talked about it, 35-3. They come back. It's the biggest for playoffs. I know the Colts blew those idiots to the Vikings a couple years ago, but I could see that record falling. At some point, I feel like that the playoff comeback can the way teams score at will nowadays, and I feel that could happen, that someone can come back from that much down.
Sure, I don't really disagree with any of them. You had OJ's 2,000 though, as well. That could get broken. It takes 1 year. I mean, there's somebody who.
Well, you're talking about can someone break it for the Bills? Because obviously it's been broken. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
No, I agree. It could, but not.
I don't think that's not an unbreakable record just because I think there's precedent. McGillney, 100%. That's not happening. The drought, unfortunately, could be matched again. But again, if it does, we're going to be really old, and we're not going to remember talking about this on the show anyway at that point. Bruce Smith, I looked it up while you were talking about it. He had 171 sacks with the Bills, 29 after he left Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, look, there's nobody I can envision now breaking it. Yeah, but guys get 15, 18 sacks. You might get the next Myles Garrett. Yeah, it's probably not. You know what? It's probably not happening.
No.
And McGillney, yeah, like I said, absolutely not. I got two. They're both Bills ones. One of them, the 4 straight Super Bowls. That's the one I don't agree with. I could see teams, the Chiefs might literally do it 12, 11
Well,
months.
It's been 30 years, and no team before the Bills did that.
They're one more Super Bowl. If they were only at 2, I'd be like, no, but they're at 3 and counting right now.
Sure.
They're going to absolutely be one of the 2 or 3 favorites in the AFC again next year. So that's the only one I would push back with a little bit. I got 2. Number 1, 20 straight losses to one team. The Bills lost 20 straight times in Miami. They lost for an entire decade. They went 0 for the decade against the Dolphins in the 1970s. So losing to the same team 20 consecutive times, hopefully that's never going to happen for the Bills again. Still remember when they beat them in 1980, they tore the goalpost down like they had just won the AFC Championship. That's one. And then the other one, I got Thurman Thomas's rushing record, 11,938 rushing yards for his career. I think that's safe in today's NFL. You would have to average about 1,200 yards a season for a decade to break that record. No one stays on teams that long anymore. It's a passing league more now, and a lot of teams have running back by committee, including the Bills right now, at least to a certain extent. So, again, I guess you could technically never say never, but I don't know, man. In today's NFL, I don't see guys getting up to that many career rushing yards. Derrick Henry
for the Bills to break.
For the Bills.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, you got to be careful because you can't just look at this roster. You got to say, all right, well, 10 years from now, is somebody going to be, getting that? But 1,200 yards a season for a decade is a lot.
Yeah,
in NFL, especially when teams don't feature the run or one specific running back much.
How many yards is Josh Allen away from that? How many yards rushing does Josh Allen have? Because I feel like he could have the longevity. If Josh Allen plays until he's 38 in Buffalo, and maybe he's still running, could he catch Thurman Thomas? I wonder if that's a possibility. Because you're right, the running back by committee.
He actually is a third of the way there. He's at 4,142 yards over 7 seasons. He'd have to get 8,000 more rushing yards.
Okay, so he'd have to get 6.
That would mean 9. He'd have to get average about 800 yards rushing per season for a decade.
That'd be hilarious if he passed him. That would be the greatest record of all time.
It would be the greatest.
He's definitely going to break Kelly's records, though. He's going to break his passing touchdowns and all that. That's going bye-bye.
Yeah.
Josh Allen. He's
Josh Allen in the 90s Bills would have won 4 straight Super Bowls.
Hey, it's possible.
Just
Andre Reed. Do you think Andre Reed's going to lose his all-time leading receiving thing?
Not anyone on this team, but eventually, sure, because the Leach is throwing. There's more and more throwing every year.
Sure, but the thing about
longevity is that makes these records hard to break.
That's the thing. Like I can't picture a wide receiver playing 14 years anywhere. You know what I mean? Like
guys don't stay with teams that long. But I mean, it could happen. They go get their Jamar Chase 5 years from now in the draft or something like that. Spend a decade there. Rewrite the record books. I mean, there's wide receivers who get close to 100 catches in a season now, and they're not even that good. Some of them. I mean, they're good, but they're not like elite receivers. It's just it's wild to me. I'm just trying to sift through a couple of these comments. Broncos have lost 5 Super Bowls and won 3. Anyway, yeah. So those are I definitely think some records that are safe. Turn our attention. Sabres for a few here. They're hot, dude. They won again tonight, Sunday night at home against Boston. They've won 4 in a row, 7 of 8. They're 12-2 in their last 14 at home. And since March 10th, they've beaten Vegas, Winnipeg, and Washington. All 3 of those teams lead their division. They also beat Tampa and Ottawa, who are certain playoff teams. What the hell do we make of this team right now? Doesn't matter because it feels to me I feel like I think getting a top 3 pick would have been the move for the Sabres. They have played themselves. It's the only thing they've done is play themselves out of a top pick in the draft? Or is this something that you feel legitimately, truly could actually be built on for next year? Or come next November, is this going to be a team that's already 8 points out of a playoff spot because they fall asleep and they lose 7 of 8?
I don't know, to be honest. And I feel bad saying this, but I don't care. Like, I'm sorry to say this, like you're asking the wrong person. I wish you would say this topic for Ostrander or someone.
Well, people in the chat agree with you that they don't, or they're playing, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, but the thing is, I haven't watched them any games. I watched some highlights here and there. Like, I understand your point of like the draft pick, I guess, like, it kind of kicks you out of that. I mean, but who knows? They've been in that top 3 forever, it feels like, and it doesn't fucking work. If anyone can ask, like, why have they been better? Like, as of like what? Like they're scoring a bunch of goals, it feels like.
There's 2 philosophies. One of them is pro Sabres. One of them is that it doesn't mean anything. Like, this team seems to play better when they're done. Like, when there's nothing to play for except pride or whatever, they just seem to play looser, better.
Well,
I'll give an example. Late February, Joe. So the Sabres won 6 of 7 near the end of February, okay? And I remember listening to Jeremy White. This was during the 4 Nations break, right after it. I remember Jeremy White talking on WGR about Lindy Ruff said, like, we need to get, like, I think it was like 7 out of every 10 possible points, and we got to treat it in 10-point segments, 5-game segments. We need to get, I think it was 7 or 8 points out of 10, and we could be in the race in the last week of the playoffs. That was the big conversation going towards the end of the break. Then they lose 6 out of 7. Just wipe that shit out immediately. My bad. They lost 6 in a row, and they only got 1 point out of a possible 12. Rid them off. Because, again, feeling a little bit of pressure to get a little bit close. It seems to be a team through the years. They could get to that 6-7 point, area. Then, bam, they fall off, and it's 9, 10, 11, 12, and they're done. Or you could just say some of these young guys are starting to come together. Lindy Ruff's starting to come together. Yada, yada, yada. Tage Thompson had a hat trick tonight, by the way. He's got 43 goals. He's a fucking beast, man. He's got 33 goals. He's great. Darlene scored. He's great. Those 3 guys are great hockey players. I don't know either. I mean, I care a little bit more than you. I don't care as much as surely some people listening.
It's honestly like, look, like I do care. I shouldn't say I do care. I just, look, there's a lot of things going on in this household. I got to watch a baby, and I'm exhausted. I'm working. There's like all this shit that no one cares about. I do want to watch, but like, yeah, they've done this before where they've had like a nice end of the season, and you could say like the Lindy Ruff system. It took a while to adjust to it. All that, the cliche shit. I don't know. I just hope in the summer.
Are your vibes better about the Sabres right now, based on what they're doing right now, or there's no vibes?
I don't. I'm numb to them. Like, I'm just not. I don't want to say I hate them. I'm just kind of like, they don't really exist too much in my world as of right now. Like every year, like I try to watch some games this year, just didn't really work out. And I'll try to do it next year again, but it's just, I don't have time. No one pays me to watch the Sabres. I would say this though, if you're a fan and like you still are there, you're still watching, you still give a shit, I would tell them, don't buy into it yet, because it's tough. Because they got the same ownership, they got the same GM. If they go in the summer and they actually make some improvements and like, do some different things that they have not done in terms of the top six and not just reshuffling the bottom six, then there you can get excited. But I don't have that much faith, but I'm sure
they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt that much.
Yeah, they got none. So that's the problem.
They have used up their goodwill. They have used up their good faith. They've used up getting the benefit of the doubt. I think that is.
Yeah. If this was 7 years ago, then yeah, I would probably buy that. But we're in year 13, 14, whatever the fuck year of the drought. And
I want to believe that they're playing well down the stretch means something. And they're playing well at home, which is something they have not done.
Yeah, that's been a thing they've been terrible at.
Yeah. 12-2 in their last 14 at home. That's really solid. But talking to Chad on the show not long ago, he said he thinks that there's like 3 real tier 1 prospects in this draft, maybe 4, and then there's a pretty significant drop off from that. Now, look, there's still the lottery. The Sabres could win it, but it feels like they're just playing their way out of a top 4 player. They're going to have like the 7th, 8th pick, something like that. And I know other people are going to be like, who cares? Doesn't really matter. Anyway, the other thing that I don't like is this going to mean I gave up on Kevin Adams getting fired before they got hot. I mean, that shit wasn't going to happen, but are they going to not switch assistants? Are they going to make the mistake because they play well down the stretch of saying, well, Jack Quinn, he found his game. I trust him next year. Mattias Samuelsson, let's not buy him out. We're going to buy him out. No. We're going to keep him. We're playing pretty good. I think he still could play a good hockey player. We don't need to make a move at goaltender. We got UPL. He's still got a lot of talent. Blah, 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 blah. Those are the things that worry me the most. Like this team is going to rest on its laurels because of how it plays down the stretch and act like the 13-game losing streak and losing 6 out of 7 after the 4 Nations break. Like that shit doesn't matter when it does. So,
well, I also think goaltending, they haven't, I don't know what's going to happen next year because UPL has not had a great season.
Fucking terrible. He's been awful.
Yeah, he's been, and you got, and then you have, and then now he's there, and then you got Levi in the minors, who's been, I think, good this year. I'm not going to pretend I'm Chris fucking Baker over here, but see what happens. But look, I'll give him, I just don't care. It's 70% what's going on in my life with a baby and like work and being tired. That's me personally, but like maybe I'll try to do it next year. But then I was into it like the first 10 games. I watched that stupid West Coast trip.
They beat you up a little bit. This team, that's what they do to fans. Fans, or maybe they're not diehard fans, but they're willing to be bigger fans or willing to invest more time, money, emotion, whatever you want that investment to be in a team. They're willing to do it, but then they let you down, man, and they just suck the life out of you.
I gotta watch some more highlights. I'm terrible at it. It is what it is.
Let's. Do you have anything? Are we doing a true or false segment this week?
Oh yeah, I got some true and false. Yeah, we're done. Yeah.
Near nerdy end. Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay. So these are true and false. So I'm not doing the same categories as before because I just pigeonholes me a little bit. So I got a couple of true and false. So true and false.
Yep.
Excuse me. Reuben Brown is the biggest name missing from the Bills Wall of Fame.
Off the top of my head, because I don't know these until you ask me. So
and you have a terrible memory.
Maybe I do have a terrible memory. Maybe reflection might change it, but as you ask me that question, I probably would say
I could tell you who's not on there. Like I could
tell me who's not on it.
Okay, there's Eric Moulds.
Yep.
Cornelius Bennett.
Yep.
Kyle Williams.
Yep.
Those I think are the 3. Like those guys probably should get on.
I was thinking that maybe
Bennett's not getting on because of the rape shit.
Right. I was going to say maybe there's some players that are not on for non-football reasons, but based on your question, I'd say true. I think Reuben Brown's the biggest name. He's longtime player. Whether he's overrated or not, and how much being a Pro Bowler means. He was a perennial Pro Bowler. He's been very good to this community in the years since. He's done a lot of things here. I believe he still lives in Buffalo, this area, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought he moved to New Jersey. I could have sworn he moved to Jersey.
Maybe he did. But anyway, regardless of where he lives, I'd say that's true. So yeah,
Okay.
true.
All right, cool. Sabres question. True or false? The tank worked.
The tank worked?
Yes.
Well, no. It's hold on. Actually, I think it's true. That might be controversial. Mike Arrington's ears will bleed if he hears this split. But yeah, look, the goal, the objective, you suck. You need to bottom out. You're starting over, and you had McDavid or Jack Eichel, two generational talents, which, by the way, they have both proven to be generational talents. Jack Eichel is absolutely one of the best players in the league. He's a Stanley Cup champion right now. He just happened to do it after he left the Buffalo Sabres. But yeah, that was the goal, right? The goal was to get one of the best two players, and they did. And in terms of the losing culture that it, really stressed on this organization, this has been an organization that's been a bunch of losers far before the tank season. It's been fucking 14 years since they made the playoffs, dude. So yeah, the tank absolutely worked. It worked in terms of their goal. Did they make them a better hockey team in the long term? No, obviously, but I still say true. If the situation was reversed and there was an Eichel and McDavid thing going right now, and would I be rooting against the Sabres to tank when they're out of the playoffs? Let me ask you that, because now it's been a handful of years down the road. I'm going on a tangent here, and you tend to forget about that. Or younger fans really didn't care at the time or whatever. But if the Sabres right now had a crack at getting one of two absolute superstar players, there's no chance you're making the playoffs. No chance right now. You're going to tank at the end? Would you be pro tank? Would you root for the Sabres to lose at the end of the season?
Sure. But yeah. I wouldn't watch, though. That was always my thing about the tank. Like, I did not want to watch and root for them to lose. I just didn't bother. I just looked at box scores.
Going and watching a game or the team that you've grown up loving and you loved your whole life, you're rooting for them to lose, was weird, and it was stressful too. It was very stressful.
It wasn't stressful for me. I remember that. I just didn't. I just was like, I just assumed they were going to finish last because they were so bad and they were so. And I know at the end it was very, very close. But throughout the season, I remember they were like 7 points up on Arizona. They were never like trailing them. It felt like, and I felt there was a lot of like GR was making it into this giant, like, oh my God, like a panic and like we were all going to die in February. And they were just panicking everyone. I was like, just wait till fucking April, then start the panic. But
all right, what else? You got anything else?
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of more. I got like 6. We're going, baby. All right. This is a TV one. Ralph Macchio is the best character in the Karate Kid universe.
No, false.
Who is?
It's definitely Johnny Lawrence. How's it not Johnny Lawrence, man?
Okay,
Johnny Lawrence. Man.
Well, you got to remember the movies, though. Like he wasn't really a big focal point. I mean, it's the universe.
Well, he was in one. He was in the first one. He was in
the second one. So he was in the second one for like a brief thing. Okay,
but he was in 3, and also the series.
Ooh, I like. We got two saying Chosen. Chosen's a good one. I mean, he's a good one. Chosen's very good. I mean,
I like Chosen. I'm thinking off, the top of my head. Yeah. Okay. I felt the Tory vibe a little bit too. I was team Tory, man.
Okay. Cool.
Johnny Lawrence, so not Ralph. In fact, I thought he was really fucking annoying as on the.
But series. He is like the focal point, the hero of the lead.
Kind of.
All right.
Whatever. He's not as good of a person as he thinks he is. All right, go ahead.
Another Bills one. Brandon Beane is under more pressure for the 2025 season than Sean McDermott.
False.
Really? Oh,
yeah. Brandon Beane, no one's going to say Brandon Beane didn't do a good job as of now because, well, that's not true. But the extensions, that's universal. That's consensus. That was a great job. Kind of like with Von Miller. It's like, can you really blame him for taking a swing on Joey Bosa? I don't really think so. But if he has a shitty draft, so it's kind of, I don't want to.
I disagree. I think
it's not as open and shut because if he has a shitty draft and his rookies do nothing, and if Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid don't step up this year, that could be on Beane too. But I think McDermott's at a point now where he can't. There's nothing else he could do except get over the hump that's going to elevate him to another level.
I think there's
win all he wants. He can win 2 playoff games, but until he beats the Chiefs or gets it out of the AFC, I think there's more pressure on him because he's just people are going to consider him a guy who can't win the big one. What were you saying?
I think it's Brandon Beane because he spent a decent amount of money on free agents this year. He's got a lot of new free guys coming in. And as you said, the draft. And I think even the end of the season where those first round picks didn't do their job against the Chiefs, I feel the tide has turned a little bit more towards where you're at, dude, in terms of like you guys, like where are these guys at? Because it wasn't like they were pretty active. I mean, and they spent money on guys who are suspended for the first 2 months, basically. But I think there's more pressure as of now. I mean, look, I could have already asked this in August, but like, I think there's more pressure on him than McDermott as of right now.
All right. Well, I don't agree.
All right.
That's fair.
Okay. Okay. This is a media question. We got 2 media questions coming up.
Oh boy.
The Stephen A. Smith versus LeBron James saga has been good for the NBA.
Honest opinion here is
true or false?
Probably false. And I say probably because I don't have a definitive answer because this is the honest to God's truth. I have barely paid any attention whatsoever to it.
I've loved it. It's been hilarious.
And to further that point, because this is an ESPN thing, I legitimately, honest to God, do not watch ESPN anymore. Unless it's a live sport. I can't tell you the last time I watched Wake Up or First Take or Sports Center or anything on ESPN other than live sports. I'll watch a clip. I'll see it on Twitter. That's how I might know Stephen A. Smith responds to something LeBron. I'll see a 2-minute clip on Twitter, but I have not tuned in to ESPN probably since I moved back to Buffalo 3 years, maybe longer. I don't know. What's your quick answer on that? I really don't have one. I'd say probably false.
I'm gonna say false. It's more embarrassing than anything. I've kind of followed it. Like I watched the LeBron, whatever the fuck, the LeBronication conversation with that jerk off McAfee, and Stephen A is a guilty pleasure for me. I understand why people think he's terrible, but he's a guilty pleasure because he's so.
I don't hate him.
He's so over the top ridiculous, and like once you realize like this is all a game, and he's doing this for clicks, he's kind of funny. But like he went on a 15-minute rampage about it. Yeah, and anyways. I think it's funny, but it's terrible for the NBA because there's no
quick point to that. You're right. With the clicks and the attention and stuff. But what I will say is that at least Stephen A. Smith, the trolls, the clickbait stuff, at least it's entertaining, where Skip Bayless was never entertaining.
Yeah, Skip just was contrived bullshit and was lies.
His shit was predetermined. All right.
Yeah, like he just was like,
no matter what. Yeah. No matter what, he was going to hate Tom Brady, no matter whatever it was going to be.
Romo, he hated. All those
yeah. I don't remember who the hell he liked.
He was a douche.
Whatever it was always the same.
Okay.
Anyway, go ahead. Yep.
Okay. If you were to golf with any local Bills media bro, it would be Jay Skursky. True or false?
True.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, it's my guy. Secondly, he's a good golfer.
Why does that matter? So he's going to kick your ass then?
Because I'm a pretty good. I shouldn't say that.
You're not a good at anything.
I used to be a pretty good golfer, and I'd hate to play with somebody who.
Nintendo doesn't count at golf, there, buddy.
I'd say true because not that I wouldn't. You want some pandering, Pat? Here you go, Joe. It's not that I wouldn't want to play with other members of the Buffalo sports media, pandering, Pat, but I just like Jay a lot. I have good conversations with him, and I'll tell you this, his son would kick the shit out of either of us and probably most media people out there. And I think he's like 11 years old. But yeah, Jay's my dude. So yeah, that's true.
Last but not least, Aha Take On Me is the best one-hit wonder song of all time.
Man. Woo. I don't no. It's false. Personally, for me, there's 2 that I really like a lot. And I'm thinking of this in real time.
Yes, people. We don't tell anyone anything. Gotcha.
Right. Rockwell and Michael Jackson, somebody's watching me. That's my favorite, but technically
That's the
Michael
one.
Jackson's in it though. So
Yeah. Oh, I got you.
Rockwell gets the credit for the song, but Michael Jackson is his appearance. So I really don't know if you could count that.
I always thought Michael Jackson sang that song. I didn't know it was Rockwell.
Rockwell sings it, and Michael Jackson sings the hook. He sings the chorus.
Somebody's watching me. I always thought that whole thing was Michael.
No, that's Michael. That only that part is Mike. So
interesting. Okay, gotcha.
And then that Jermaine Stewart song. Remember that? We don't have to take our clothes off. We don't have to take our clothes off. That song is the bomb, man. I play that shit all the time. So that might be Aha's Take on Me, though, is right up there, though. So I don't know. I'll flip a coin.
Is Rick Springfield Jesse's Girl? Is that a one hit?
Rick Springfield's had tons of hits.
Oh, has he? Okay, so that doesn't count.
But he had a good half dozen hits.
What about I mean, I think of CeeLo, a little bit taller. Wish I was a baller. Like that's a one hit wonder.
Yeah.
Then you have Aqua, Barbie Girl. That's a good song. Don't care what anyone says.
Next week. So here's what we're gonna do. Next week on the show, I'm gonna have a Mount Flushmore of the 4 worst one hit wonders that are still popular.
We could draft one. We haven't done a draft. We could draft one hit wonders.
We haven't. Speaking of Mount Flushmore, though, hold on a second here. All right, so I told you at the beginning of the show that I went to the 80s bash on Saturday night, and there was a band rocking out, the DJ playing out some jams, and then afterwards, stopped at karaoke. I won't say where. Sunny Reds. Shout out, sponsor Sunny Reds. Their karaoke, they're pops, by the way. But anyway, it got me thinking of my Mount Flushmore. And for everyone who don't know, Mount Flushmore is not the best. It's the worst of that I like to do on this show almost every week. This week, I want to give you my Mount Flushmore of party / karaoke songs. Like either songs that people love to sing at karaoke or songs that pop at parties that a lot of people like, and I don't. This is my personal Mount Flushmore. I feel like I might have done this before on a show with somebody else, but these basically are the 4 worst popular songs to me ever. Love Shack by the B-52s. I felt compelled on Sunday morning because I heard it on Saturday night. I felt compelled to get up on Sunday late morning today, go to Twitter and write a 1-sentence tweet, and it said, "Fuck Love Shack" by the B-52s. That was literally my tweet. I hate that song with the passion. People sing it at karaoke, drives me nuts. Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf. I hate that song, especially at karaoke. It's a duet, and whoever sings it is always a train wreck. Fucking terrible. Picture. It's a kind of a slow jam, but they still play it at parties and stuff. People dance a little bit, and it's a big hit at karaoke. Picture by Sheryl Crow and Kid Rock. It sucks.
Kid Rock sucks in general. So
oh my God, I hate that song so much. It's so terrible. And then the last one, I could say literally anything by Toby Keith. Anything by, rest in peace, God rest your soul, Toby Keith, but his songs, hate it. Red Solo Cup, whatever, Boots in Your Ass, and all that other bullshit. All of the Toby Keith songs suck. And I'm not even hating on country because I've become a much bigger country music fan over the last handful of years. Toby Keith's shit just sucks. And if I can't use him as an artist, I got to pick a song. How about Cotton Eye Joe by Rednecks? I hate that song.
That's a one-hit wonder.
It's a terrible song, man.
And we're just talking karaoke. Like these are like karaoke songs. Like
Hill Slayer 12 on the live chat disagrees with me. He says Love Shack is lit. Not gonna
Love Shack, baby, Love Shack.
In the chat, We Are Family is trash. That is such a big song, obviously, at weddings. So Celebration by Kool and the Gang. That song's whack too. That's not even one of their top 5 Kool and the Gang songs.
I loved that. Go ahead. Oh, Chumbawamba. That I did knocked out.
Knock it up again. No, he was talking about the one-hit wonders, so I think he was talking about.
Oh yeah, but that was a big one-hit wonder. Yeah, Baha Men. Yo, we got to do a draft of the best one-hit wonders of all time. Yeah, we got to do that.
Future.
We won't. It's funny you mentioned this karaoke thing. Real tangent. Friday night, I actually went out.
I saw this. Go ahead.
Yes, we went out and freaking went to this bar called Astoria Tavern. It's on the street from me. It's like a Irish pub kind of thing. They had karaoke that night. I went with my friend. We're both in our 40s. We're old. We don't like anyone.
Are you a karaoke guy?
So here's the thing. I haven't done karaoke in God knows how long, but I definitely would, if I'm drunk enough, would like karaoke. So,
okay.
We used to have outings at work sometimes, but I haven't done karaoke and I can't even remember the last time I did it. It was 15, 20 years ago. It's been a minute, but I don't have anything against it. But the bar was so loud with the songs, and I just remember I was like, why did the music just got loud all of a sudden? And like and they're doing karaoke. I'm like, oh great. And then all of a sudden, this one guy singing Alanis Morissette, Ironic. Or no, he wasn't doing Ironic. He was doing the Dave Coulier song, whatever the first one is. I want you to know, you ought to know. And he was doing the high pitch, you ought to know, like loud as hell. And me and him, my friend, were like this, and I'm like, we gotta get the hell out of here, and we left. So like, karaoke is great when you're drunk and you're doing it, but if you're kind of sober and you're there in the background and it's blasting, it's fucking terrible.
I like going to karaoke. I don't sing though. First of all, I cannot sing. I am an awful singer, and I don't know what it is. A lot of people get up there, they know they're awful, but they just have fun with it. It's supposed that's what karaoke is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun, man. I don't know. I just don't like doing something I know I'm not good at.
That's the point. Everyone sucks at it.
I know. Well, not everybody.
Like, I mean, one of my goals one day is that we do a birthday show for you on this podcast, and we just get trashed, and we bring everyone in, and we just do karaoke. That I think would be great. We bring all your regulars, like all the people you love, like all the pandering people, the media. They come in and sing songs, and they just leave.
Sal Capacio's a good singer. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else in the media that I know of.
You'll be taking a selfie of that, I'm sure. But yes.
Yeah. Anyway, karaoke's fun. Like I said, I don't like to sing. Who on the Bills?
I would always play this if I was at karaoke. It would always be. I would always play pop. It would be like Britney Spears' "Toxic" or something like that. Like I would definitely jam out to that. And like those types of songs, I think would be what I always would play. Would be like pop songs.
Jason says Pat hasn't found his voice yet. I could tell Pat was meant to sing some Phantom of the Opera. Dude, I love Phantom of the Opera, man.
Phantom of the Opera is here. All right.
Yeah, too, because I've been nervous. Like if we were doing a live show right, here's what I'm saying. If we were doing a live show right now, say we were at a location, we're at Sunny Reds or Imperial Pizza. And see, a lot of people were circled around us, listening and watching what's going on and stuff. That I got used to it, but that would make me nervous until I really got used to it. But if we're at karaoke and there's 7 people in the bar, and even if I'm hammered, there's something about my nerves. They really kick in. And I got to try to get up there and sing something just wild. Anyway. All right, let's put a bow on this episode. So tomorrow being Monday, I'm going to put out a tweet regarding Terry Pegula, and what is it again? You got to remember
that he deserves credit. Like but you have to say it in the not enough people are giving Terry Pegula credit for the Bills' success, and you're going to get destroyed by everyone. I can't wait.
Oh, not. It's going to turn into an if people even care. But I'm going to say my take is Brandon Beane gets a lot of credit and is deserved, but Terry Pegula deserves a lot more credit for what the Bills have done in recent years. Is that a fair tweet?
I wouldn't tweet. We don't need to kiss billionaires' asses this day and age. We just don't.
One last question, then we're gonna end the show.
But you could pander. Oh, you're not gonna do any comments? All right, fine, good.
Well, I've been following a lot. I've been putting them up there. They've been really staying relevant to
what we've been talking about.
Mark said Pat is gonna sing at Mac Holland's funeral. Yo, I miss Mac Hollins, man.
Oh my lord.
Don't play with me, man.
It's okay.
One last question. I've been wondering about this. Outside of Buffalo, because of course in Buffalo it's Josh.
Oh,
who's more famous around the world, or at least in America anyway? Let's say America. Josh Allen, Haley Steinfeld. Who do you think is more famous? And do you think it's a big gap between them two? Like going to Milwaukee or fucking Texas, LA, wherever it may be, appearing at whatever. Who's more popular around this country? Haley Steinfeld or Josh Allen?
I think Josh is, because look, he's a top 5 player in terms of like visibility. Like people know, like, and the NFL will always be the king of entertainment. It just will be. That's just how it is. More than movies, everything. As for Haley, like, you know, I know like maybe like she has her fans. I don't know. Like, what did she? All I know she did was she was on the
Adventures.
Yeah, she was Hawkeye's daughter or friend, whatever the hell. I forgot the name of the show. Hawkeye and someone and whatever she was. And she was fine in that. I watched it. Like, I don't remember much about it, but I didn't hate the series.
Yeah.
I think it's him. Like, definitely. I know she was on the Tonight Show a couple days ago and she talked about the Bills in Buffalo.
I think, well, we're looking at it from the scope of we're Bills fans, we're Buffalo guys, and it's just easier to say Josh. I think it's Haley, not by a lot, though. I think Josh has closed the gap. I think him winning MVP in his speech really took his notoriety.
You're just pandering to her, as always.
Yeah, because she's definitely going to listen to this show, man. Yeah, she's an actress, dude. You ever see, if you want to find out if Haley Steinfeld is for real, I'll tell you what, you told me to tweet something as an experiment. We're going to leave the show by this. I'm going to give you an experiment. I want you to go on Twitter X on Monday. No. And yeah, you got to do this, man. Listen, you got to go on Twitter X and I want you to tweet something very negative about Haley Steinfeld.
I'm not. I don't agree. I don't got anything with her. No.
I want you to. I want you to see the passion that her hive, is that what they're calling all these fan clubs? The hives of the Haley Steinfeld hives come out.
Well, look, everyone loved the freaking Queen Brit
and Twitter anyway. So the worst thing they're going to do is run you off the app you don't want to be on anyway.
No.
They're going to come for you if you do that shit.
Dude, Bills Mafia has always loved every, you know, going back to Queen Brit and then that one shitty offensive lineman who never took a snap and his wife was all over Twitter X for like a hot second from New England. Do you remember that girl's name? I think you had it on your podcast once. I forgot her name. Do you remember?
Say it again.
Who was the shitty offensive lineman that never played a snap for the Bills at New England side and his wife was all over Bills X?
Waddle.
Yes. Yeah, I don't even know. And then his wife was on all over. Yes.
Yeah, I like it, by the way.
Yeah, because she was on your podcast. Congratulations. She blocked me, and I don't even know what I did. But anyways, like every Bills fan loves every wife of the Bills players.
Until something happens.
Yeah, no one knows what happened to Queen Brit. I don't know what happened to her.
A lot of people. She's still out there on Instagram, not popular.
Yeah, you're sliding her DMs, you perv, I'm sure. Oh my god, my podcast, get your side of the story of what happened with you and Josh.
All right, man. We're gonna get out of here though. Like I said, all right, I know you're not gonna do that, so but I'm just telling you that worldwide, I think she's like, dude, she was just like you said it. She's on the Tonight Show, man. She's just at Hot One.
Everyone gets on the Tonight Show.
Hot One show. Not everyone gets on the Tonight Show. Now, Josh Allen is one of
Jimmy Fallon. That's another guy. Like
Josh Allen's one of a handful of athletes that's got that kind of game in him. He's got that in him now to do that.
We need to do a Mount Flushmore for freaking talk show hosts. And I'm putting Jimmy Fallon as number one. That dude sucks. No talent, not funny at all, a geek. He's number one.
They're probably the biggest power couple right now. One of them, anyway. I don't want to. It's too late in the show. We got to get out of here.
I'm not doing that.
Maybe we'll talk about that.
What about Wayne Gretzky and Police Academy, Miami Beach girl? That's a big power couple.
Sure.
Yeah, that Police Academy was terrible too.
Yeah, it was.
Mahoney got recast for whatever reason with the other idiot. It was sad.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Big thank you to everyone out there who, especially whether you watch this live or you're going to check it out on Monday. I do appreciate you. This week, our second Bills mock draft in our series, I'm going to have Anthony Borhaska on from Cover One of my favorites. Does a really good job.
I will not be listening to that, but I'm sure it'll be great.
You will not be listening, but it will be very insightful, man. Anthony is absolutely one of the best. Going to be doing a live show at Sunny Reds on April 16th with Chris Trapasso and Nate Gary are both going to join me live for that. That'll be a week before the draft. So lots of cool stuff coming up on the show. Again, thank you for watching, for listening. Joe from Queens, thank you. And I'll be back with a brand new show tomorrow.